Hello guys, it's Robbie here, and here I am with a recap of the trade that I took on Euro USD, and also I'm going to break down in the next video the GBP USD from today's London session. So what were my expectations for this session? What did I expect in this session? Well, mainly I was expecting SAS. I was looking for SAS, but also longs could play out because if a supply zone gets flipped, then we could take longs up to the next supply area. And after these supply zone mitigations, I would look for sells mainly. So yeah, I was really expecting a deeper mitigation on the 4-hour demand area. Here was the 50% line of the 4-hour demand area. And yeah, I was expecting sells. I was looking for shorts mainly. However, I executed a long today, and I will explain my reasons behind it. So here we are on the 15-minute markup from today. So as you can see, here is the 15-minute price action, and price was breaking structure over and over again. That was the last recent break of structure, but it was a really small body break below the previous low point. And after that, technically price has reversed back to the upside, mitigated this supply area. This supply area caused the previous breakout structure here with volume candles, and technically this was our last recent valuable 50-minute supply area. Everything below this supply area, this candle, was efficient at this point, so technically this was just liquidity for this supply area where I was expecting SAS, and actually a confirmation happened. However, it wasn't a no-go. It was a no-go zone for me because I was expecting a deeper mitigation because price did not mitigate the 50%, but I will explain it right here on the trading view. So yeah, there were other scenarios that I was waiting for: a new breakout structure and confirmation entry on the uniform supply area, or confirmation entry on the higher supply area, which caused breakout structure here to the downside, and also there was technically liquidity below it. And yeah, I did not mark. I did not mark and draw this possible scenario right here because I thought there won't be enough space to execute longs. However, technically there was enough space for the longs in order to target more than 5 risk reward ratio. So I did execute a long based on this flip, based on the flip of this supply area, but I will explain it on the trading view. Also, there was possible scenarios. So if the higher supply area would be flipped, then I would execute sells, longs, up to the next supply area, which is up there, which was a weak supply area that has caused breakout structure beforehand. And after this supply zone mitigation, if it happened, I would look for sells once again and expected 50% mitigation of the 4-hour demand area. Technically, these were the plans, and once again, I did not draw this scenario, which was a possible scenario in this case because technically there was enough space between these two supply areas. However, at the morning I did not realize that there was enough space, so this is the reason I did not draw that possible opportunity there. So technically that's all based on the 15-minute time frame, and I have made for only one reason a 5-minute markup, which was technically to show you that there is literally no valuable supply, not even in the 5-minute time frame. And technically this was our last recent valuable 50-minute supply area. So yeah, also there was a 5-minute supply zone mitigation which has caused the breakout structure here to the downside. But even though if this supply would be flipped, then I wouldn't really look for longs up to the next supply area. So yeah, but technically this was just liquidity built up for this higher supply zone area. I really wanted to see the failure of this 15-minute supply area in order to execute longs. So this is the main reason I did not look for longs after this supply flip, because the flip of this supply happened. And as you can see, these scenarios right here are exactly the same as it was on the 15-minute time frame. So technically that's all from the markups. And here we are on the real trading view. And as you can see, here is my position. So I executed a long in this session. Session has started right here, somewhere around here. Yeah. There was the 5-minute supply zone mitigation that has caused the breakout structure here, but this supply zone mitigation wasn't strong enough to create a new breakout structure, and instead the price just flipped this whole 5-minute supply area, swept this liquidity into the last recent 15-minute supply area, and mitigated less than 50% of the higher time frame zone. Price has reversed really nicely to the downside and technically caused the change of character right here. But I was expecting and I was waiting for liquidity creation for this entry POI right here, which was also a flip zone. There was the demand that has caused the last recent breakout structure here with an inefficient candle. So this demand was the last recent demand that has caused the breakout structure. This demand has been flipped from this supply area, and also this supply has caused structural low break too with clear body closure. But I was really expecting combined liquidation in this case for this entry POI because EU likes to mitigate 50% of higher time frame areas. And as you can see, liquidity creation was missing for me in this case, and price went higher to mitigate more than 50% of the whole zone and actually flip this supply area right here. After that, technically a flip happened of this 15-minute supply area. 15-minute candle closed above it, as you can see. Right here, there was a clear 15-minute body break. And on the 5-minute time frame, we could identify a clear 5-minute flip zone that has caused the flip of this 15-minute supply area. Well, technically at this point, we could execute both direction. So there was a 15-minute supply zone mitigation, but it wasn't a 50% mitigation. Exactly, it happened exactly as it happened beforehand. So there wasn't 50% mitigation, and I was really expecting a deeper mitigation. So after the 15-minute supply zone mitigation, price has changed character here to the downside. There was the last recent breakout structure to the upside. There wasn't a new breakout structure, so technically this was the last recent demand that has caused the breakout structure. And price has changed character here to the downside from this candle, and also price presented really nice volume candles that has led the price into change of character. I was looking and I was waiting for liquidity for this entry POI once again for the exact same reason as I waiting for here. So there wasn't 50% mitigation of this higher time frame zone. It was probably a 45%, but it wasn't 50% mitigation for me. Also, it was a 40 or 42% mitigation right here at the previous supply area. However, it wasn't 50% mitigation for me. And for the exact same reason, I was waiting for liquidity creation for this 1-minute entry PI that has caused the change of character right here after the 15-minute supply zone mitigation. But after this 15-minute supply zone mitigation, technically there was liquidity built up. Technically there was liquidity, a bit more amount of liquidity, but I marked the liquidity pool like this one. So there was liquidity built up for this 5-minute demand area that has caused the flip of the previous 15-minute supply. And after this 5-minute demand mitigation, I was looking for longs and I would target the 50% of the higher, the last recent, in this case, the last recent and current 15-minute supply area. And after the 50% mitigation, I would look for sells because I was expecting that this zone right here would be a sell trap in this case because there wasn't 50% mitigation on the 15-minute supply area. So this is the reason I was expecting and I was executing longs instead of shorts. And there was the 5-minute demand zone mitigation. There was liquidity to take for it. And also I did count based on the pro trend criteria. So there was a pro trend criteria for me, especially after the flip of this supply zone right here. So yeah, this was my first criteria, higher time frame zone mitigation, liquidity take for the higher time frame zone. There was really nice amount of inefficiency that has caused the change of character right here at this high point. It was a structural high point in this case right here. So there was the change of character, which has happened with really nice volume candles. And I did count the important criteria, but it's not that 100% clear as it should be, but I did count it and I was really trusting in my analysis. So yeah, it could be countable, and some of you were looking for this exact same entry opportunity, and I believe some of you has executed it too. So yeah, the first base criteria was the change of first variable criteria for me was the change of character. The second one was the V-shape recovery. So this is in overall, it's our 6 criteria. There was also 50% mitigation, 5-minute candle closed inside of that zone. Actually, there wasn't a real body break right here, so there wasn't any break of this 5-minute demand area. 5-minute candle closed inside of it, so we could count the 50% mitigation. At this point right here, price wasn't coming from an opposite sided zone, and we were missing the corrective pullback from pro movements criteria, which would be our 10th criteria, and the combined liquidation criteria. So I had 2 missing criteria in this case, and because of the main reason, so I was looking for shorts maybe, and I wouldn't really call this one as a high probability entry opportunity. It was a medium/medium high probability entry opportunity. And because of that reason, because of the higher chance and for the short scenarios, short opportunities, I decided to hop in and execute this trade with reduced risk. So I used the reduced risk right here. I used 2.5 pip stop loss, and I targeted the 50% of the 15-minute supply area right here for 5.6 risk reward ratio. And after the struggle right here, I almost manually closed in my position in break even. However, I really wanted to strengthen my psychology, and I really wanted to trust in myself, trust in my analysis, and I stick to the original break-even level. So after the break of this high point, I decided to put my stop loss into break-even. And after a couple of minutes after session close, technically price has swept me out in break-even right here. So it was a perfectly valid trade for me. It perfectly lined up with my scenarios, with my plans for this session, and also it perfectly lined up with my edge. So this is the reason I was expecting and I was executing this long trade instead of short trades. So yeah, technically that's all, guys. Let me stop the recording, and I'm gonna restart it another one with a GU recap, a GU breakdown, because there was another opportunity that I did not take because I was expecting a change of character at different point where you had. So yeah, let me stop the recording and see you in the next recap.